Boy, is it cold out here. It's about 39 degrees, the end of January. And it is time to get our seeds going for the market garden. So, I am going to make seed blocks for planting in. Trying to get this soil ready. So, I have some organic garden soil, a little bit of potting soil, and mix a little tiny bit of vermiculite and perlite. You really don't have to do that for seeds to get started, but these end up going in the ground, and just one more little bit of conditioning that we can add to the soil once these grow and get transplanted. So, not quite wet enough. I need to add some water to that. What I'm using is this jug right here that has a mixture of rainwater and sea mist. The sea mist, we buy it from Val Nolan. I'll show you the jug here. So we've got this sea mist that we use. It's mostly made out of seaweed and some other things, but we find that it's a good stimulator to help get these plants and all off to a good start. Mixing the soil blocks, you actually want this medium to be pretty wet, and if you see some water standing in the bottom of the pan or the tray here, that is perfectly fine. The wetter it is when they get started, the better. So we're gonna add a little bit more to that and get it a little wetter. Depending on your soil medium, when you add the water to it, you may also just let it sit for a little while to let it get hydrated. But this is already pretty hydrated. I have been planting or making some soil blocks in here for a couple of days, and so it's good to go. So there's a number of places you can get these soil block makers online. So check these out. It's really simple. It's this little device that will turn. Let me show you an example. Well, I didn't get that one compressed. So you just mash your soil medium into it. And because I'm putting these close together in a 10-20 tray, I'll wipe off the excess soil off the outside of it. And then you hold the handle and you push the lever down, and you end up with a little wet, they don't want to come out, these little soil blocks that we'll put in our 10-20 trays, and then we'll go and plant the seeds. So we end up with these nice compact soil blocks that don't require a lot of other maintenance or other plastic. So we'll just start putting these in a 10-20 tray, and you can make them. And when you make these, they're a great way to get plants started from seeds. It's economical without having to buy a lot of extra pots and fuss over the individual pots. So get your soil compacted in there nicely, and I'll show you this tray when I'm done putting them in, but I'm just going to squeeze those blocks out into the tray. So let go. It's a little wet and it's very cold out, so everything's a little sticky. So we'll just put enough of these in this tray to get our starts going. And we will start to plant in them. They make special potting mixes and seed starting mixes that you can use for this, and I've used a few of those and they work very well. But some of those are really kind of expensive. So always trying to save money here on the farm, and come on out of there. Maybe it's too wet, or I don't know, maybe it's freezing. You don't want to let go. So we'll get these guys in here. But anyway, so you can use just about anything. You don't want You don't want huge clumps of organic material, so something that is something that's pretty fine works good. A lot of people will tell you to add peat moss. I've got some right there. You could add peat moss, it'll give it some stability, but I recommend not adding very much peat moss because it tends to, in these soil blocks, it tends to dry out fairly quickly, and then just makes it difficult to keep the right amount of moisture content and water in there. And I prefer that they go into a soil mixture that is something similar to what they're going to be finally grow in. So it's not as much of a shock when they go into the market garden soil once they're grown. Might also help if I wash this. I've been using it for a day or two, and it's a little muddy and a little sticky, so it might help also if you keep the soil blocker nice and clean. Every once in a while, just kind of fluff your soil back up so it's easier to get into the soil blocker. I bought this tub that I'm using in the concrete section of one of the big box hardware stores like Home Depot or Lowe's. You can find them all over the place, but it makes a convenient place, an easy spot to create the soil blocks, and works very well. So I'm just mashing this device down into that soil to fill the little cylinders at the bottom. Doesn't want to stick. Doesn't want to come out. Doesn't want to stick today. It's so stinking cold out here. So that's good. Doesn't take very long to get all the soil blocks put together to plant them. It's pretty quick. This makes 4 at a time. And as a kid, I always liked playing in the mud anyway. So now I'm an adult and I'm still playing in the mud. Come on. Okay, come on. One's stuck, but doesn't want to come out. There we go. Almost there. Sometimes if you pull that trigger on there a couple of times, it'll help loosen things up and it'll slide on out of there. Like I said, I've gotten this one pretty muddy the last few days. Oh, there's the farm manager. He's yelling at me, see I'm not going fast enough. You come do it. It's cold out here. So the little soil blocks just end up getting filled with the soil, and again you put your hand in the trigger and you press it down and they come right out. Sometimes they're a little sticky. Today they're wanting to stick. Shop around, see if you can find these soil blockers. They also come, this actually makes a divot in the top, so if I had really tiny seeds, they also make these little bitty ones like this that will fit into the top of those, so you can keep moving these up into different size soil blocks to to transplant them and keep them going if you're not ready to get them outside. So there's those guys ready to go. So we will take that in to the garage, and I'll show you how we get these guys planted. Yes, I'm wearing gloves today. Again, it's really cold, and I find that just keeps me from having to wash my hands between each one of these trays. Keeps my hands cleaner so I can go from one spot to the next. So now we are ready to get these planted. I've got two tomatoes and types I'm going to plant in these. There are the finished soil blocks ready to plant in. So that's the next step, and we'll get our tomatoes and things planted in those right now. So first thing I'm going to do, what I've got are these I have already planted. These are brandywine. So I'm going to take my marker, I'm going to write on a piece of tape, brandywine. I can spell it. Then I will put it on the side of this tray. And I didn't fill up the center because with the soil blocks, because I'm going to do one type here and one type there. So I can use the same soil block. There's all kinds of ways. You can label these any number of ways, little sticks or stakes. The next one I'm going to plant is called a Great White. It's another one that we have not grown before. It is actually a white tomato. So if you've grown that before, I'd love to know how they did for you. Leave it in the comments below. So I've got my tape with my labels so I know which one is which in this tray. So next thing, tomato seeds are pretty tiny, pretty small. I'm going to get this clean little plastic container I dumped the seeds out in. Well, they were really generous with these seeds. Sometimes there's not very many in a packet. And then I'll just take a seed and drop it in each one of these. Kind of hard, you could almost use tweezers. These seeds are so tiny. If I drop more than one in there, that's all right. What I end up doing is picking between the strongest plant and the weak one and keep the strong one and call out the one that is smaller. So a couple of those I've managed to drop more than one seed in. The other thing is it kind of helps make sure I get some germination. If I put at least two in each one, then I'm surely going to get one of the two in each one of those to germinate.
Like a bird on a tree, I'm just sitting here. I got time.
All right, so then I'll just take the remaining seeds and I'll hopefully not dump them all over the workbench. Nice and clean. Put them back in the seed packet for next time. So that's that one. And then you can put this over or under. A lot of people will put it underneath. This is we buy it from one of our favorite garden gurus, and it's a mix that she makes. She calls it Val Mix. Her name's Val. We'll sprinkle just a few pellets in right with those seeds. The Val's mix, I think, is primarily humate and worm castings. So that'll give these guys a nice boost, along with the sea mist that we originally wet the soil with, and then we'll water it with sea mist on a regular basis. So I'm just putting a little bit of this in each of those little divots where the seed is.
From a distance you can tell.
They look good. All right, so then I'll take a little bit of that garden soil. This is dry, so it keeps my hands clean. This soil is dry. It has a little bit of peat moss. I'll just sprinkle a little tiny bit of this over the top of each one of those. It's very fine. I have actually sifted this, so it's really, really fine. Again, it's just the same potting soil with a little bit more of the peat moss in there, and this helps put a nice covering over the seeds, so it will help them germinate well. All right, here's that one. It looks good. The next one are these white tomato called Great White. See if you can see that packet. Most all of the seeds that we plant, we get most of our seeds from Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds, or it's rareseeds.com. There's all the planting instructions and all the information on the back of the pack. But we really do enjoy and like growing the heirloom seeds. Again, I'll just pour those in, repeat the process, and we'll keep going until we get them all planted.